I am very pleased to continue on session. I think I can't remember number 3 or 4. I'm really get mixed up now. But this is a very important session as well. I am particularly delighted. We're going to see 3 distinguished diaspora, because you know this is diaspora. We are very pleased. You know, it has been a very successful transformation project. And when we say we talk about everyone. This project started in 2009. Yes, there was an idea, and which I can see it in front of me being visualized. The United Nations like it. We have a diaspora who is a Sudanese. We have 2 diaspora Sudanese, and we have one who is not Sudanese, but he is a brother of us, definitely well-established diaspora. I just want to make sure to find he is connected well. I will just make sure, because he said to me he's ready to come on board, having problem signing. And so I will go ahead with the first speaker, because you can see the time, and then I will try to connect Councillor Sunny Lambi. I will start with Muna Ishaq, or Muna Adam, whatever it's called, because in the UK we use lots of surname. She will introduce herself. Like, let me introduce her in Arabic first, because I think this is very important. منى سودانية، ونحن بدينا المشروع ده يا جماعة الكونسيبت بتاعه بسيط جدا، فيه جزء ساينتفك وجزء سوشيال ساينس. قلنا ساينتفك أي إنسان سوداني أو من العالم، من أفريقيا، من أمريكا اللاتينية، من أي مكان بقى هاجر whatever سبب الهجرة بتاعته، ما مشكلة عندنا. لكن هذا الإنسان مشى بلد آخر ونجح في شغله، كان هو طبيب، كان هو مهندس، كان ميكانيكي، كان أي وظيفة يعملها. قلنا طالما هو نجح في المجتمعات المتقدمة زي بريطانيا وأمريكا وكندا، أكيد عنده حاجات بقى زيادة ممكن يفيد بها الكنتري اوف اوريجين اللي هو بيروح لها وبيشوف فيها أهله وغيره. دي الفكرة البسيطة. وقلنا في جانب كبير في هذه المشروع إنه بينقل معه معرفة. يعني الليلة حنستمع لها الأستاذة منى، عندها معرفة غير المجال اللي نجحت فيه، إنها ذات الطريقة اللي بتأدي بها العمل. تعامله مع الزوم ده بيفترق من الناس في السودان اللي انت تتعامل بها كل يوم. يعني هسه الطوق بتاعها يختلف عن زول في السودان، لان هي افري داي ممكن تكون بتعمل طوق زي ده. فانا هخليها تعرفنا بنفسها. شي از سكسسفول وومن، ونحن فيري ماتش يعني انكورجينج وكين في الجامعه وفي برامجنا مع الامم المتحده وومن امباورمنت. المراه لازم تكون امباورد في اي حاجه بتعملها، وهي خير من يتكلم عننا. وقريب شفتوها في عدد من اللغات، كان على مستوى الدول العربيه او السيدات العربيات او الافريقيات. وطبعا ما داير نخش اصلا نقاش هنا، نحن عرب ولا فارغه، ده ما موضوعنا هسه. فان انجلش Muna, thank you very much for joining us. You can speak in any language you like, because we have opened this complete flexibility to everyone. Like I said it in Arabic, you are a respected diaspora, and I can see Sunny also here. Can you hear me okay, Sunny? Let me
okay, thank you. Can you hear me now? Yeah,
yes. And Muna, can you hear me, Muna?
Yeah, thank you, brother. Yeah.
Okay, so I was introducing Muna, and now you are here. So Sonny, do you want to go first, or do you want Muna to go first?
I think I will allow my sister Muna to go first. Nice to see you, sister. Salam alaikum.
How are you? Now, Sonny, before you join us, I was introducing the session, and I said, I am very pleased to have 3 distinguished diaspora with me. 2 of them, all of them are British UK diaspora, but 2 of them are Sudanese. But when I mentioned you, I said he's not a Sudanese in where he's born, but he's a truly African, black, whatever you call it, diaspora, which he's have made lots of achievement. And I was explaining why we're doing all this from 2009 with UNESCO. There is much to be learned, not from your knowledge as in the field you are become an expert in, but also in the way you do things, in the way you talk, you manage, you organize. And one example about what I have just mentioned, last week, Councillor Sonny ran a Black Leadership Forum or a webinar. He said he will start at 7, he will finish at 9. And I remember 9 was 9. I was very surprised. I was very surprised, not just because that's not common in our African culture, but it was 9. Even in the British culture, it's always out of the 9. So I want to start with Muna. Muna, the floor is yours. Introduce yourself and go ahead. And I'm very pleased you're going to talk about the voice of women, and she will give example from the UK. Muna is yours. If you have a slide, you can do the screen share.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, Sunny. Thank you very much, Professor Alam. I'm so privileged to be one of your participants in this conference, and just follow you since we met before a couple of years, and I was eager to have part of what you're doing and be participating in it. And I think now the chance has come. Thank you very much. My name is Muna Abdullah Ishaq. But as Professor Allah mentioned it, sometimes Adam, other times Ishaq, because in Sudan I'm known as Muna Ishaq or Ishaq, وهنا في بريطانيا and here in UK as Muna Adam. I came 2004, but since I arrived in UK, I was already made. Always I'm saying that I was ready made. I brought up in Sudan. I was born in Sudan, brought up in Saudi Arabia, educated in Saudi Arabia. I worked for British Council in Saudi Arabia. So when I came to UK, I haven't got any problem with the English as a language. But I started working and established myself in UK by doing a lot of volunteer work, by doing some courses to develop myself and develop my skills and try to accommodate myself in a different culture with the Western culture. I'm glad that I met a couple of people from different parts of the world. African brothers and sisters help us a lot. Sudanese, also my communities helped me a lot to find my way in UK, besides other things in UK itself. I stood as a candidate to become a councillor. First of all, I joined Labour Party because I believe in the values of the party itself. I found myself as a social activist and also political activist. I joined the Labour Party 2016, where I found myself and educate myself, and also they trained me very well. And I've decided to start as a candidate to be a councillor like my attorney in a very difficult part of London, which is Kensington and Chelsea and Kensington, where it's a dominant conservative. And I came the third one, and that is a great result for me. But I start also work with my community. When I say communities, different communities, because in UK, Sudanese community, not just one, a community that you belong to. I joined different communities, getting in touch with different many people, different cultures. We try to find a big community to accommodate us as ethnic minority or ethnic minority in UK, and also following and educate each other and helping each other how to find ourselves where we supposed to be. Because when I say when we supposed to be, because many of us came from different countries where the war over there or different reasons. So let us to be in a different culture, a different country, but what we try to get from this country, what the benefit and advantages that they're giving to us to empower us, whether male or female, and to stand and find a voice for us among a new era, our new country. And I think with many help from different people, I find myself in a position to consider it as a leader. A leader in UK or in Western countries that you can help your others who need a help, or you can educate others who need education. And that what we say a leader. Leader is not like back home or back in African countries. You have to be a president. No, you have to be a human being that you caring for other issues. That I can introduce myself in this way. What I'm going to present today, strike me recently when I've been invited to participate in a program talking about Muslim women with hijab who managed in UK to get into position as a judge and as a mayor. A mayor and a judge is a kind of high standard for positions or occupation that you are privileged to hold it. Despite of all the differences in UK, if you're highly skilled and you're highly trained and you believe in yourself, so you can reach whatever you dream of. And I can't see my presentation, Professor Alam. And when I invited to this program, and I spoke about a judge who who is a woman, a Muslim, wearing hijab, and another sister, and a Somali, who is born in Somalia, but came here as an asylum seeker, as a refugee, but the country itself, the policies of the country, the policy and believe in the equality and equality and quantity gave, gave them this a chance to reach where they can achieve because they dream of. So that struck me, and when Professor Anam got in touch with me, I said, I'm going to talk about women with a voice. When I said women with a voice, that women or a woman who has a chance to get all what the society provides her with education, awareness, and engagement, and also a chance to compete with the other half, with a man, and if there is any chances for her to get and reach it. Professor Arnam, I can't see my presentation.
Muna, if you go on the bottom, have you
Yeah.
your PowerPoint open?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, if you go down, you can see something green bottom called share screen share at the bottom.
Okay. Or
you know في الزوم at the bottom بتلقى حاجه اسمها share screen لون اخضر.
Hold on again. You praise me that I'm a good at. You said share screen.
Yes, في البوتوم مش لاحظت في حاجه اسمها share screen.
Yeah, I've got it here.
دوسيها، لما انت تدوسيها بتديك بوكسز. شوفي يلا
PowerPoint
بتاعك المفروض يجي عندنا.
I've got it. Yeah, I've got it here. Can you see?
Excellent. يلا جست دوسي big screen عشان نشوف السكرين كبيره تحت.
Yeah, I've got it.
PowerPoint في الباوربوينت تحت.
Yes.
دوسي show slide في البوتوم.
I can see it, but I'm not quite sure. Do you see it or not?
لا في الباوربوينت تحت.
Yeah.
بتلقي العلامه بتاعت السكرين اللي هي الشاشه دي. ايوه جنبها، بس دوسي جنب. ايوه دوسي دي.
Yes.
يلا بعد ده واصل.
Okay, you can see here, when I started because I'm so proud that in UK, I'm one of the directors of an organization called Shaman BR, and this Shaman BR is a part of some of the work we do in empower women, and also dealing with domestic violence as an issue in UK. When I say country, I mean UK. I know that I've got two countries. I'm so lucky that I have more than one country. I've got a mom and dad, which is UK and Sudan. So, and Shaman BR is one of my organization. I worked in that organization and dealing with different issues. And also there is a sign for what we're suffering now is COVID-19. And the title, A Woman's Voice. I start my presentation talking about COVID-19 is really a cry, I think, for the whole global world about what is happening is not by any means caused by human being or is a nature. One, I think, notice that we fighting is struggling to communicate or get together. And so when COVID-19 appeared or spread it, so the whole global turned upside and down. It's a disease where different ways to spread and affected so many people, and it's affected our economies, and we're suffering for untold losses. So we hear or read about dies, people losing their lives in America, in Sudan, in Nigeria, in China. So we couldn't control it. Nobody couldn't manage or can imagine that something like this could happen. And men and women suffering from the same symptoms. Elderly and children are suffering from same symptoms and same results by losing their lives. And what happened? We noticed that it's still in front line men. I'm not against men, but I do believe in equality. Equality that the society divided in men and women. And what I was expecting as a woman to see more women in front lines, to see more women coming in board and talking about what we lost and how we can fix it together, but it's still equality, we call for it, but it we couldn't apply. But I think now then we need to apply equality between men and women, and so we can survive. We from this picture we can see most of these women, or 7 of them, as leaders for their countries. And I went through what they've done. They've done a lot, and even they came abroad on the television, TVs, and they talk about the COVID-19, and they talk what they suffer from, and they try to maintain their countries under control and try to save lives, try to accommodate and comfort the nations about what's going on. So women, they can have voice, but we need to listen. What we need to listen. We need to spread our hands and work together, men and women. So by empowering women, I think we can save a lot of lives, we can save values, we can build society and communities. Here, the first judge is a Muslim. So in UK, despite all problems before, despite 11, September 11th, despite all that thing, but what I've seen in UK as an example, giving chances. So we need to empower our women, and I think my brother Sani can come with this with me. We need to empower women from ethnic minority backgrounds to hold themselves, to hold their communities, to hold their rights and their families, and so we can have a voice. So I think our roles as a leaders, or we consider ourselves as the leaders, we need to grab these chances. We need to empower women in our community, especially in UK. Empower women, I'm going to talk about what empower women I mean. We empower women that by let our women or teach our women that they can, the empowerment inside themselves. They have to believe on themselves. They have to do to educate themselves. We need to talk a lot of about the empowerment. We need to plant it into our women and into our communities by giving women the chances and also help them to go through this empowerment and also to accept empowerment means accepting and allowing women, allowing people or women, because I'm talking about women, to be in the decision making process. That means we have so many leaders in the Western countries, but we're missing leaders in our own communities here, the small communities and big countries back home. So by empowering women, I think we can see differences. And here again, this is my sister or a Somali Maya in UK, and to become a Maya and to be a woman from African background and a Muslim, I think that a huge step. I have to admire them and I have to look at them to, as a role model for me as a woman, as the ethnic minority, as African, as a Muslim woman. So that when we empower women and put them in to participate in a decision making, so high that high, so where we can see differences and where we can find a new generation that can solve some of our problems. To be honest, I think when COVID-19 is spread, I thought it's a disaster. But when we step back and look into ourselves and what we need in our communities, I thought kind of a call for to be aware, to do what we believe in, to aware to see what we're missing in our communities, in ourselves. And so that's why I call this presentation as a voice, a woman with a voice. And what the impact? The impact for coronavirus, I think we have a different impact in the in the whole our process, in whole life. There's no impact. But when I look into women and how the coronavirus, COVID-19 affected them, I think they're going to affect them economically because when I went through all these researches presented by different organizations, we're going to lose a lot of women who really we didn't think about them women who used, because now most of us in lockdown used to do a little jobs, but so important to us. I read about the women who work in factories to reduce our clothes, and so many brands, big brands, now they nearly to shut down in UK. I look into the domestic violence, and also during the COVID-19, families came together, locked together, and a lot of violence in against women and girls. And now just is so quiet and silent. and so many families suffering from it. And during this time also, we didn't have a proper system to tackle and to understand or even to find out how much domestic violence is this community and how they suffering and how we can sort that thing. Because if we get just going, I'm going to give an example about domestic violence, how it suffer during COVID-19, and also gender equality. As I said, gender equality and women's empowerment. Also, we're missing that. So many medical advisors appear in our TVs talking about what the cause of the COVID-19, how they're going to manage it, but we're missing seeing women's faces coming out and talk about it. And even we are the more people suffering from it. And again, national planning, we haven't seen anything. And always, I'm not again, what my call is for, we have to think again and we have to use all what we got from expertise, even women or men. But what I've noticed that there is a huge gap between women and men. Men in the front line and women behind the front line, and that strikes me to think again. What we calling is that what we're applying? I think no. So what we need to do, we need to rethink and see how we're gonna apply all all this national planning to accommodate women among them. Uh, Human rights and so many things, women rights, all these things. One after the COVID-19, I think we remove the cover and we discover there is so a lot work need to be done. And we again, women calling or what women with a voice that are part of the solution for coming days so we can stand and think how we do. And this exercise just explain how domestic violence works during the COVID-19. We're missing a lot. And so that means many people, maybe they're suffering, many women, maybe they're suffering. Last 2 weeks, I received seven cases from domestic violence, but up to now, we couldn't open any case. Why? Because so many things like data protection, many organizations work together, but most of them are in lockdown. Kids in that domestic violence cases, but we couldn't do anything about it. Police try his best to communicate or to liaise with different organizations to sort out how we can work out all these problems. So COVID-19 is the kind of another cry for how we're dealing with so many issues in our society. And why I pick up UK because kind of UK they've got most of their policies into the place, but still during the COVID-19, it seems like so many gaps. Nobody, as a human being, or as a society, or the community, or as a leader, Councillor Stanley, we missing a lot of work, and we need to think carefully about it, and we need to rework our work again by by preparing our organizations, ourselves, our system to tackle this kind of problems if any natural disaster happens as a COVID-19. And again, what we need, this about domestic violence. And I'm going to give another example if my time is still there. I've got another case, which is asylum seekers, women who claim asylum seekers. Really, during COVID-19, we heard and we read a lot of stuff from the system, a lot of problems among them because the social climate has changed, people locked down, and so nowhere to go. Housing issues, which is most of them homeless, and you cannot protect yourself when you're wandering on the streets. The lack of basic human needs, such as clothing, food, internet. We're now communicating by internet, and where we can even socialize by internet. There is a part of our society left behind and suffering a lot. And when I say part of our society, I mean women who claim asylum, and up to now they haven't got any kind of help, or we cannot sort out how we can help them. Uh, So that's why I've chosen a woman with a voice, what we need, and again, from our decision makers, from our people who really in the power, and our frontline men to rethink and try to fill these gaps, because there's huge problems appears after COVID-19. And what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to do, I think we need to look again uh, how to empower our women and how to empower them by knowledge, know about what they're suffering, know their problems, know how what they're gonna face and how we're gonna solve this. And other things, education, education, education. When you educate a woman, you save half of the society. And again, practice would like the decision makers and people in the power to practice by giving women a chance to raise their voice. When I say raise their voice, not protesting, I mean raise their voice by participate in making their own decision and taking their decision. And I think most important, hear their voice. We need to hear women's voices when they raise it up, because when you hear their voices, you can tackle the problems. When you tackle the problems, you can sort it out. And when you can sort it out, I think you can live in a safe environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Muna. Really good, very good presentation. Particularly, after this 2-3 o'clock, you really need is good. Normally, normal conferences, people, even Monica from America. Hello, Monica. I can see that people from America start to join up. This conference, I mean, today has been very exhausting because we move from place to place. Now, thank you very much, Muna. I'm really pleased with the presentation, and we will come back to you with any questions. We will definitely have. I would like to move to
That's the one thing.
yes.
Lam, I promise. Because you asked me to do it in Arabic, but because of Sunny, I don't want to do that. But I promise I'm gonna do something for Sudan.
No, definitely yes. No. It's great, and that's why people are watching you now. I would like to move because we have many lined up of speakers now, and the ambassador was watching as well. And probably Gail in San Lucia is watching. She's one of the key advocates for diaspora's role. Now I would like to give the floor to Councillor Sunny Lambi. And I think I introduced you earlier, Sunny, but let me introduce you again. We as diaspora, if I call myself diaspora, if I talk as a diaspora, as academic or as whatever, British Black, we are very proud of you, Sunny. You are an example, I think, very good, like wanted to bring into this platform. Every year we try to bring good examples of diaspora who justify this project back in 2009 with UNESCO. The British Parliament like what we do. Now they are listening to the diaspora. You are highly academics. You are a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. You have an MBA. You also a fellow of the Royal Society of Art. So you are also you represent us as an academic. You have a very good component of academics. You're also a very good businessman. You have led initiatives. You are leading business in London, but also as a policymaker or as a politician, you are well known within the Black or the diaspora community as a leader in, you are leading the labor movement, the Black labor movement. But above all, you have managed to do all this, showing the real character of human being. Because when people, they respected you, they do not respected you for your color, but they respected you for the way you behave, the way you conduct yourself. Within all these three hats, if I call you, academic, professionals, policymakers, and business, you have succeeded because of the way you discipline yourself, the way you manage, the way you lead, the way you talk to people. And that's what we always say. It's not about diaspora. We are British, but we will not gain that respect within the society unless we really do or adhere to the values of our nationality. Now, you have been in all these fronts, so I think I'm looking forward, together with many people, to listen to you, and I'm sure your talk will touch on all these three at least elements of who you are. Sorry, so the floor is yours, Dr. Sunny Lambi. It's yours. Let me, I think we need to unmute. Yes, now you're ready, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. Salam alaikum. Peace be unto you and everybody that is listening. It's a great privilege to be, to be here. And thank you so much, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great privilege and honor to be speaking at this year's 18th International Annual Conference of the World Association of for Sustainable Development, and also the 8th International Annual Diaspora Conference. Thank you to the organizers, especially yourself, Professor Alam. I mean, I really feel a bit embarrassed when you list me so high, and I hope I can live up to that, into that stool you place me on. And of course, is a great privilege to also meet my sister, Mona. Adam, thank you so much. I mean, it's I really prefer, to be honest with you. Of course, my presentation is going to be less academic, but perhaps a bit political and thought-provoking, as well. I mean, my sister mentioned stakeholders involvement earlier, especially women empowerment. I mean, before I delved into some part of my presentation this afternoon, I just want to say that women don't need empowerment. They already have the power. Men, we just need to see them as our partners, not somebody behind, but as our partners, hand in hand, working together. Because when we fail to recognize and acknowledge the importance of women, especially when women constitute 50 or more than 50% of the world population, what are we missing? We're missing their contribution. And no wonder the world is in a mess. As the high time, we men start taking women seriously. We are not partners, and we need to recognize that. We are not competitors. I was going to say, we are not competitors. And women have more to offer. Even I remember growing up, because I want to dive in a bit. I remember when I was growing up, I grew up in a very traditional African, environment. I grew up with my granddad, and I'm glad, even though I didn't like it at the time, I'm glad I actually spent some time with my granddad because a chief. Actually, a lot of people didn't know. In 1893, my great grandfather was actually a king who actually signed protectorate agreement with the British. I think 23rd of August or something like that. Fijabi the first, because I'm from the Fijabi royal lineage. Even though we don't use that name because Ibadan, where I come from, everybody just bear his own dad's name. That's that's free with you. You pick your dad's name rather than your granddad's, if you know what I mean. So that's why a lot of people don't see me, like that. So and I watch him how we respected his sorry, he got a few wives, but I only got one. So I still have catching up to do on that. And I saw the relationship between him and his wives, how is especially during our fest, because my granddad used to have plantation, cocoa, coffee, and so on. And then how the women had is what we call division of labor. Everybody have their own role to play. It's not because one is subservient to the other. So therefore, we need to rediscover that as I know, as a race, especially we people of African origin. We need to start doing that. So women are not subservient at all. They're not at the back seat. And we started, realizing that. So now coming back to, I just thought I should put that in the front. Sorry, Professor Alan, you have to forgive me for that. So now coming back to the topic of today, I mean, what I want to talk about is the importance of stakeholders involvement in especially when it comes to sustainable involvement, engagement and involvement in sustainable development. We also touches upon what we just said, women are part of the stakeholders we're talking about. And if we then ignore the importance and the contributions of women, what are we doing? Then we are failing. And no wonder most of the things we do are actually failing. So therefore, as a British, African, and Nigerian who has keen interest in human and community development at all levels, whether it's at the local, national, or international for a few decades. So much of projects I've set up over the past few decades. Indeed, my MBA, which also touched on African common market by the year 2000, also touched importance of the role of women, the role of youth, empowering ourselves, even, in terms of self-economic empowerment in Africa. Funny enough, some of my recognition are actually African Common Market, the African Union, and so on and so on. Imagine when some people thought you were crazy when you are doing all these things, especially when there were now enough now you can do everything online, you can do your research, but that wasn't available then. And then all of a sudden, something people thought you are crazy when you are doing for your MBA is now, everybody is now getting mad about it. It means you're actually ahead of your time. So, and these are the things I've done. And I didn't headed up to start of I remember first organization I set up, Confederation of African Professional UK, which was set up in October, I think October 1998, is bringing Africans in diaspora together so that we can start, talking about issues affecting our continent, ourselves in this country, and also building our own stakeholders and see how we can use knowledge gain over here, develop, and then we can use it for the betterment of our people in Africa and around the world. So that's how I got involved in community development. So therefore, whether you are operating at local, regional, or national level, the principle and importance of stakeholder engagement is still exactly the same. It just, of course, the way we apply will be different from one community to another. And that's why the local content, the local environment is extremely important, why we should understand it as policymakers. So it's about principle of carrying everyone along on the journey we're about to take, whether on a new project development, electoral reform, building a new hydroelectric dam, school, low-cost housing, railway lines, new superhighway, hospital, nuclear power station, or even indeed in the case of my London regional government, for instance, the new Bakerloo line, which is a new development, is about carrying people along with you. It's also good to talk to all the stakeholders, both internal and external, such as immediate local residents, neighboring countries, trade unions, contractors, funders, local and international pressure groups, who may be affected either positively or negatively by the new development. And that's where also women come into being as well. Women, young people, you know, we're talking about women. They are stakeholders, big stakeholders. And if we imagine if we leave half of the stakeholders, then we are talking to ourselves. And no wonder we always find people of big objection to development, because the people we need to take along with us, we fail to do that. And as far as I know, as a professional person, any of us who fail to do that, to consult the real people that be affected, we are failing as professionals, in my opinion. We are failing, and we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing wrong? So therefore, yeah, it's good to talk to all these stakeholders, and therefore, so stakeholder engagement is should be an integral and even overarching principle of meeting any of the 17 sustainable UN sustainable development goals. Because if we take our stakeholders for granted, we can't meet them, because we already taken half or more than half of the population for granted. And these are people we need to carry along on that journey. So it must be an integral part of all aspects of our concept, planning, management, implementation, and review process of any new projects. Why? Getting it right means half of our problem is solved. Alternatively, getting it wrong becomes the biggest nightmare of our life, especially when you look at if I give an example of London, for instance, did you know the new, the development of Haygate, the big estate very close to Elephant and Castle, started in 1999, 2000. They're just building it now in the last 2 years. So it's about 15, 20 years late. Why? This kind of lesson we need to learn, because it's not just finance alone. Maybe finance is part of it, but stakeholders involvement, stakeholders holding up, saying, no, we don't like this. No, we don't like this development. What are we going to benefit from it? What's in there for me? All these aspects need to be looked at and tackled seriously, because if we don't, we're missing the point. So it is also similar to HS2, the rail network, which is now being proposed by the government. Look at how long it's been taking. Or may I even dare say the abandoned Boris Johnson, former London Mayor's pet project, the Garden Bridge, Look at how much millions were spent on the Garden Bridge, and then very close to you, Mona, because you live in that area, isn't it? Look at how much they spent and look at how much wasted, and then eventually the new mayor said, sorry, we don't want it, it's too costly, we don't need it, abandoned. But imagine if the stakeholders had been consulted, not just the few rich people who think, yes, a fancy project, and let's do it. Time wouldn't have been wasted. Money wouldn't have been wasted. The wasted money could have been used to tackle all the socio-economic problem we have in London alone. Look how many young people get killed on our street because of lack of opportunities, because of unaffordable homes. But yeah, we have money to waste on garden projects. Now, I'm only using what is close to me at home because I see Britain, London, my home, and I see what happens every day, what we make wrong. You can imagine what we then get wrong in Africa, other parts of either East Africa, North Africa, because we don't listen to stakeholders. We don't, even when we say we listen, just to tick the box that we consult them. But the consultation doesn't mean anything, because if I say and listen to you, as Professor Alam, and listen to you, Sister Mona, and then I listen to you, it means whatever you say, I'm going to consider it seriously, and I'm going to consider in my decision making. That's what it means. But if I don't take into account, then it doesn't mean anything. Does stakeholder mean anything to us? And that's the question. So if we really want to meet the development goal, then consultation is extremely important. Taking stakeholders, consulting them is extremely important. Taking their views into account is extremely important. Or can I even dare say, look at Ethiopia, for instance. Look at what is causing between the hydroelectric dam, which is being proposed by Ethiopia, and then the drama is causing in Sudan, but Egypt and other neighboring countries. Now, it's true, Egypt needs, Ethiopia needs to build this dam for its economic development. But you see where importance of stakeholder engagement involvement is extremely important. We forgot that actually there are neighboring countries that rely on the water of River Nile. Now, if serious stakeholder engagement had taken place, no matter how long it takes, even any objections that may have emanated from that could have been resolved amicably, either at the local, national, regional, or international level, because we have all these different international system in place to resolve this. Now, we're still on it. So sadly, it creates a nightmare for the neighboring countries, such as Egypt, Sudan, and so on, who rely on River Nile for their water supply. So can you see, by Ethiopia solving one economic aspect of the sustainable development goal, economic development, through hydroelectric supply, sadly, they have also accidentally created the opposite for their neighboring countries, and enmity, and making access to drinkable water supply to sustain livelihood interrupted, even made practically impossible because of the amount of water that they will need to fill the hydroelectric power generating system. So could adequate stakeholder engagement have lessened the level of hostility, opposition from the neighboring country? Perhaps yes. Can we learn a lesson from history? Now, I'm from Nigeria. I'm glad Professor Alan mentioned earlier. I'm from Nigeria. And I'm very privileged to be invited to speak here today. So thank you, Professor Alan. Thank you once again. Now, when I was young, when the project, the Kanji Dam, hydroelectric dam started in Nigeria in 1964, between 1964 and 1968. The cost of that dam was 209 million pounds, but that's immaterial because the Egypt and the Ethiopia one is costing between 4 and 6 billion is costing. You can see the difference. But the money is not the important thing now. What I learned is that Nigeria and Niger Republic had a dialogue when the dam was going to be built. And then when the dam was completed, the hydroelectric power station was completed, the Niger Republic benefits directly from the grid, national grid of Nigeria, which supply electricity to Niger Republic. Even to the extent that we always joke that actually Niger Republic enjoy more electricity than Nigeria. Because if you go to Nigeria, make sure you have a generator. Because if you don't, well, if you are lucky you get electricity, you spend 2 weeks, probably lucky to get electricity for two hours a week, or you'll be lucky. So you see that. But the importance of what I'm trying to say is this: stakeholders, your neighboring country, the citizens, even when there's overflow, the farmlands around there are the stakeholders you need to engage. So through engagement, even in our relationship, by engaging with your partner, you understand what the issues. By men engaging with women, we understand what are the issues that are causing friction between us. By husband and wife, father and daughter and all of us engaging. So if I bring it to the lower level, we understand each other and we can then identify the issues, what is likely to cause friction between us, and then find ways to resolve it. Even where we have a sticking point, okay, let's leave that for now. Let's deal with the major one first, and then we come back to that later. It's only through engagement. So you now see the importance of engagement in everything, consultation, involvement in everything we do. And that's the essence of what I'm saying, that you cannot have a sustainable development without stakeholders, engagement, involvement. It's impossible. You may have it today. How do you sustain it over a period of time? And no wonder nothing works in Africa. I'm sorry to say, when you look at so many elephant projects, because one governor said, I'm the one who started it, I must be the one who finished it. We also learn in the Bible, forgive me, if those who are not Christian, that the person who builds the temple may not necessarily be who started the temple, the foundation may not necessarily be the one that will complete it. So therefore, what is important is for me to make sure the foundation I'm building is strong enough so that when somebody else comes, he or she can build on it. But the legacy I leave behind by building a strong foundation will be there for generations, to see. Unfortunately, we are not doing that. And the moment we keep on missing that very important point, I think sustainable development will be a nightmare. Will be something we just read in the textbook, but it doesn't have any application to our life. So therefore, it's important, I must say, when there's peace and mutual respect between both of us and the stakeholders, then obviously when we talk about sustainable development, then we'll be getting somewhere. So I think just of recent, Nigeria also offers some assistance to insurgency, Niger offers some assistance to Nigeria over insurgency. As you know, Boko Haram has been fighting in the northeast part of Nigeria. Because of that sense of neighborhood, friendship they have, Niger over, and also some other countries in the northeast part of Nigeria was able to help, support, and so on, because they are expertise in fighting, especially in that kind of terrain. So when you have good relationship with your neighbors, then it's very difficult even for enemy to come through there to come and attack you. So I'm talking in terms of the military aspect of it now. So therefore, it's very important. So you can see by having true and sustainable, stakeholders engagement and involvement, you can easily be able to build lasting peace in your area as well. So, but the question I want to ask is this: is war imminent between Ethiopia and the neighboring countries in relation to this hydroelectricity project? It's up to you to then think about that, because it's not for me to answer that, but because if we are not careful, it's probably an area we might expect something like that to happen in the near future. So imagine a breakdown of complete communication between those two countries. Don't be surprised if that's the end result of it. So I think if Ethiopia had conducted an intensive stakeholder engagement of all the parties involved, perhaps this problem could have been managed properly. So therefore, it's something we can learn from that. So which may also keep peace, a good neighborhood, a neighborly relationship between Ethiopia and affected country. So what do I mean when I talk about stakeholder engagement? Dedication and sense of ownership is extremely important. Citizens ownership, making sure they feel that sense of ownership, they own it, they feel important, they feel valued, men, women. Of course, even the government department that are going to deliver it, they need to talk to each other. You find some cases, even the two government, the tables are next to each other, don't even talk to each other. I mean, I'm talking even this part of the world, the advanced part of the world. You can imagine Africa where communication, is very difficult. I mean, I'm talking about where there is no electricity, there even the phone, is there any landline or network? So you can see that even if you have phone, do you even have enough credit on your phone? Or do you even have, I find some staff, you'd be surprised, even in some countries whereby some staff actually have to buy toilet roll, to work. Though it's not even freely supplied, even where it's supplied, of course, that's not an issue. Some people actually steal them. So these are the kind of issue we need. So, we need to look at. So therefore, communication is extremely important. Of course, even political opposition as well, bring them along. Let them have a say. The lobbyists, bring them along. Let them have a say. Of course, by listening to all the different parties, all the different opinions, consulting them, you will know what their issues are. Men, women, young, old. You will know what the issues are. Neighboring countries, you know what the issues are and how to resolve them. And of course, the benefits of such is that early problems and objections will be identified and then obviously can be managed. Conflict identification management, project location, if it's not the right place to locate that project, forget about the dam for now. It could be anything at all, because sometimes our politicians, I want it in my village. Maybe your village is already well served. Maybe even my opponent's village is where they need it because I just want to claim it. These are lessons we need to learn as people of diaspora. And these are what we need to share with our brothers and sisters. The politics, now I'm wearing my political hat now. Sometimes because my opposition doesn't mean everything they say is wrong. I remember when I grew up, my granddad used to say to me, when a mad person or a stupid person says something, actually a sensible person, a wise person will pick up something useful out of it. And I keep on every time. Therefore, I never dismiss anything. I don't have to agree with everything, but I'll listen. Then I'll then pick up what I want to pick from there. That's why it's good to talk. Even BT used to have that slogan some years back, it's good to talk. Of course, as long as it doesn't cost you much money. So, ladies and gentlemen, so this benefit of stakeholder engagement, obviously early conflict identification and resolution, financial management and sustainability, efficiency, viability, even vandalism, because when there's strong local opposition, vandalism will come. They want to destroy. I mentioned about war. There can be any accident that makes sure, the dam can be, I'm not saying, but human beings, they always find ways to do their own. Imagine when you build something that is not supposed to be, people always vandalize it. But when you bring them along, that sense of ownership is ours. Even when they see somebody who wanted to attack it, they will defend it. Some people will defend with their life. That's why stakeholder involvement is extremely important. So therefore, and also showed sense of leadership as well. As I mentioned before, it's not being weak when you consult. It's not being weak when you change, and actually, we got it wrong. We're going to find a different way to do this thing. Unfortunately, we leaders, sometimes we think, all right, because it's from me, or because the opposition is from somewhere, somebody else, or they are there for somebody else. No, it has to be for me. No, actually, strong leadership also means accept you get it wrong. I'm sorry. That's why also even you minimize the sense of getting it wrong if you listen to people in the first place before you read that place. But if you keep on making the same mistake several times, then is that weakness as well. So I hope, and I'm just going to use the Ethiopian Prime Minister as the reference point now. If you remember, before the current one, before he came to power, he actually, most of the countries around, if you remember, there was regional issues that time, neighboring countries. He made peace with them. And the area is now relatively peaceful now, as far as I know. But therefore, I think that's Shemose's sense of leadership in terms of promise. And I hope that same quality which he used at that time will be used again to resolve that problem which is now being generated through this hydroelectricity project. Because you need maturity. And then you need to make sure you listen to your stakeholders, which are the neighboring countries. So therefore, I'm going to quickly round up because I don't know how many minutes Professor gave me. How many minutes have I got left so that I know how to? I can't hear you.
You have been doing well. Conclude. Take your time, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You're very generous.
A shame if we interrupt you, really.
Thank you, brother. So, so how do we make sure we have inclusive, sustainable development? I think like having a town hall whereby you meet different communities who may be affected, men, women, young people, listen to them, will be useful. And we do it there, even at the local level. And I'm privileged that we are different now. So therefore, you may see me operating at the lowest level today, and middle, and then upper. It depends on where I find myself, even whether in the church or in the community. So therefore, I'm used to that. And we should also learn to do that. Don't underestimate any community, any member of it, whether men, women. So education is very important because when we have that, then we can share, even they can share their concern with us and then see where we go from there. Of course, also builds local capacity as well. Because I always say, any development that doesn't take the people who are going to be directly affected along on that journey, it's not a development at all. And I've seen so many regeneration programs, especially in London, in my borough, and so on. And my people who have known me, I keep on banging on it. Any development that doesn't change people's life, no matter how many billions you spend there, I only judge the development by how people live, compare how people live yesterday, how they live today, and how they live tomorrow. If their tomorrow is worse than where they used to live to yesterday, then it's a shame. We need to look at ourselves. And it promotes diversity as well, inclusivity. Everybody, like Sister was saying earlier on, everybody feel you are part of the journey. That sense of ownership, men, women, carried along, all community, neighboring countries, carried along is extremely important. Of course, also our human rights as well. It's part of respecting human rights of every one of us, of every citizen. It's very extremely important. It builds peace and harmony, promotes peace and harmony between the government and affected communities. Promotes trust and respect between government and the stakeholders because they know you take them seriously. Because for the fact that government consult the stakeholder, they feel respected. Of course, compensation. Where a community, because I've seen government use the power they have, they just take over people's property. No. If people genuinely deserve to be compensated, that should be part of the overall discussion. But you can only know who is going to be affected, how it's going to affect them, and what are the financial implications of that, how are you going to deal with that? If you consult them, if you take them, engage them. So you see part of all that stakeholders engagement. Of course, so therefore, compassion will be extremely important. And also takes away issue around bribery and corruption as well. Because if you are open and honest, the community see what is going on. Allegation of bribery and corruption, accusation will be removed because they see what is going on as well. They see who's running the contract, who's going to lead the contract, and so on. So environmental sustainability, as I mentioned, at local, regional, and national level, whether medium or longer term, stakeholder engagement can help, to foster effective management of this. The rainforest in the Amazon in Brazil, and also the Niger Delta region of Nigeria will result in ecological disaster and the effect on local inhabitants as well. And just to give you an example of that, So you can see through stakeholder engagement, even when you made a mistake at the beginning, now you now see the result on the community. Then you start beginning to, okay, we are sorry, this has happened. How do we move from here? It's part of stakeholders engagement. They are the stakeholders, they are the affected communities. And of course, social, social and community cohesion. Because when you engage them, the fighting, sabotage will be removed because you are being open, you openly engage and involve them in development process, and you carry men, women, and all the stakeholders along. So it's very difficult for anyone to go and attack you because you've been open and honest with them. So conflict and self-interest management, make sure is in place. If there's conflict, how do we resolve it? So that mechanism needs to be there as well. So and also promote complementarity as well. What do I mean by that? You see, there are some people, for instance, when a railway line, imagine they run haulage system, transport system, whereby they use trailers and so on, to help people carry their goods and services from one town to another, or even interstate or intra-country and so on. Now, if they then realize actually they're going to be a railway line, which means their livelihood will be affected unless you engage all those people that will be affected when those new developments are going to take place. Okay, we know it's going to affect you, or tell us how it's going to affect you so that we can see how you can build into the whole process. But unless that conversation takes place, then there'll be problem. Some people's livelihood will be lost forever. And then it can cause all kinds of social and economic problem. And that is why it's extremely important that those who may be affected, who have self-interest to be protected, need to be taken along. Even if that job is going to be lost, that line of profession is going to be lost, if they see the bigger picture of the new one that might replace it and how they can be compensated if needs be, obviously that community will carry along. Those line of people, whether men, women, or the professional group, will be happy to support that kind of initiative. But if you fail to carry them along, obviously, we know what's going to happen. And capacity building of local people. By engaging the community, we will know who are ready within our own community, professionals we have, that we can use for this project. Because there's no point getting everything from the expatriate, from over outside the country, when you have millions of own people unemployed. I mean, look at Nigeria, for instance. Millions of graduates unemployed. No wonder some of them get engaged in fraud and all these activities. Well, it's not an excuse, but when development is going on, and then you allow people from different parts of the world to bring almost every staff to that country, obviously it differentiates and also prevents people from benefiting from that project. So carrying the stakeholders along with you is extremely important. And I'm just going to to conclude on this. The idea of ownership of the project must belong to the local people based on lived experience of their lives and how project will alleviate their sovereign, solve the problem. Project design, the active involvement in the project design is extremely important as well. Consultation, as I mentioned before, transparency is extremely important. Accountability is extremely important. Checks and balances to make sure there is not just me who make all decisions. There are people who checks, okay, am I making the right decision? And then if I'm not making the right decision, is it me who spend the money? If I'm the one spending the money, it's also me who approved the money. I might well just approving and spending money myself. And by the time they realize I'm not spending the money on the right thing, all the money is gone. So that's what I mean by checks and balances. Then you find me giving all the money to my friends and girlfriend, boyfriend, or sister, brother. That happens a lot in Africa. And of course, flexibility and adaptability through stakeholders' involvement. Any likely problem that may happen either before, during, or after the project will have been identified. And then, of course, if it's not identified at the beginning, while the project is in progress, if something then comes up that will be integral to the conclusion of that project, then if it needs to be factored in, If you don't build some degree of flexibility and adaptability into it, then you have problem. So it's always important. And that's why sometimes those of our people who are involved in this, in the discussion on projects, on contracts, and so on, it has people of integrity, people of knowledge, people of expertise. Even some people, for the fact that maybe they have all the letters after their names, like me and a few others, does not even mean we probably be the right people to be around the table. Because there are some people, they may not have all these qualifications, but their expertise and experience is beyond just the letters after our name. So we need to look at that. So therefore, and we should also remember, what works in UK may not necessarily work in Kenya, Sudan, Ethiopia, or even indeed Nigeria. So we should not bring something because it works somewhere else. Therefore, it's going to work in our own backyard, in our own town, in our own city, in our own village. No, let's localize. If we get an idea somewhere, okay, how does it work in our own? Let's just go come and plant it, because we see so many projects. We find it because it worked perfectly well over there, and we bring it to our own community, and it failed woefully, and we'll have wasted a lot of money. So therefore, it's therefore imperative that we ensure no community feels left behind, because that's the essence of community engagement, community involvement, which obviously ensures that sustainable development takes place. And that's the essence of any good stakeholder engagement and involvement in development initiatives. And without taking those carefully, thinking through them and planning them methodically, and put checks and balances in place, and making sure reviews always take place at every stage of the development, then I think sustainable development will be a nightmare. But it can't be, shouldn't be. Why can't we just make sure women, young, old, youth, they are part of the journey? Thank you. Thank you.
But thank you so much. Even I can see people clapping to you from different screens. Thank you very, very much. This has been a wonderful. And I'm happy that people have been patient with me. They didn't ask me, because engagement is critical, and we have papers yesterday, and we're going to put them all together. And also, just to echo what you said, while we're getting the third speaker, the stakeholder engagement is critical, and you're rightly so when you give the example of the Renaissance Dam and others. But it's also part of the concept when we submit this to the UNESCO. We said to them, because in technology transfer, one key issue we always mention is end user considerations. So the person who is eventually going to use the technology, you need to have lots of consideration to his or her ability, the timing. And that end user considerations can only be achieved if you have stakeholders engagement. So you engage with them. And that was the reason we raised the issue that with the diaspora, they have that plus, we call it a plus, because they can engage much better, understand the end user consideration in Africa, because they are British, but they know the culture there. So thank you very much, Sunny. I would like to introduce our last speaker for this session, and not least, I am just looking to see Dr. Amir. He was there. I really hope we can get him, because we've been told by the other people in Sudan, they said the electricity unfortunately cut off. So I'm not sure if we can get Dr. Amir now. Dr. Amir, can you hear me? Dr. Amir, do you hear me? Dr. Amir Khair, who is currently in Sudan. Dr. Amir?
Not available, Prof.
Aima is not available on the screen, but he was there before. دكتور أمير السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام بروف علام، كيف الأحوال؟
والله شكرا لك جزيلا، شكرا لك جزيلا، وشكرا إنك يعني have been patient and you have waited for us. Dr. Amir, thank you very much. Let me introduce you quickly because I know many people are watching and waiting for your talk. I think it's very nice to this transition happened, and I'm really glad you have a very good road being, if you like, prepared by Councillor Sonny when he mentioned about stakeholders engagement, about he gave the example of the Renaissance Dam, which you have been one of the campaigners explaining it. Dr. Amir Khair is a British Sudanese, if you like, national. He is a diaspora, but he just traveled to Sudan last, I think, 10 days when this embargo on travel released. He was one of the people who have been on active on helping the Sudanese who were stuck here in London together with Muna to get them back to Sudan. So he's a diaspora, he's from Manchester. His background is very, very important for not just for Sudan, but for the diaspora. He's an experienced academically and professionally project manager. So he got a PhD in project management. He's an engineer. He's graduated from Khartoum and then from Manchester. He got a very good experience in project management, which is something really lacking in Africa, and he can talk to us. He also, in the social activist, he has been, and he is, and he's now in Sudan. He went to see his family, and then 2 days ago, he contacted me. He said he's going to meet several people, senior people, to talk to them to help, and so on and so on. So I think we lost him, which I can understand. In Sudan, there's lots of problem with the electricity now. But once he's back, we will give him the floor to speak. He's going to talk to us about the post-COVID-19 scenarios, and his talk is titled, "Is Offsite Manufacturer is the Answer?" So we're just hoping to see him again. If you have any question for Sonny or Muna, please prepare them because they are here with us. Any question you can ask either Muna or Sonny, Councillor Sonny or Muna. Just raise your, yeah, go ahead, yeah, Amir.
I think the point that the councillor made about the Renaissance Dam is actually a very important one. Because the Ethiopians, the Sudanese, the Egyptian, they have lived together for thousands of years in peace, and there is a lot of cross marriages and cross social relationship and political relationship. And all of a sudden now we're facing with this dam issue, which is creating a lot of tension. And I think the tension is not because of the dam, or because of any unwillingness in the Egyptian or the Sudanese part to not allow the Ethiopian to build the dam. But it's rather because the process has not been right from the beginning. There was a completely lack of engagement. So I think that has led to a lot of tension. And unfortunately, I'm not sure why the Ethiopian has not learned this lesson, because no project in the present time would be done without proper engagement of the stakeholders. And I think this issue will continue with the dam until it is corrected. Now, someone might say it is really late now at this point of time to do anything, but I think something could be done. I don't know exactly what that will be, but the situation definitely has to be corrected, because otherwise we're running into a huge tension between the three nations, and it's something avoidable. The world has changed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The traditional ways of doing business have come to halt. People's lives have changed and new realities have emerged. In the presentation, we'll look at three things: off-site manufacturing. We'll look at the new realities that have been imposed by COVID-19. And we'll look on the look ahead for the off-site construction. So part one of the presentation is about the current situation of the off-site construction. Let's just try to identify what off-site construction means. there is a famous statement about modernize or die. And then we'll just briefly explain what do we mean by off-site manufacture and why we need off-site manufacture at all. And then the key challenges before we talk about the current situation and the challenges posed by COVID-19.
Can you see it now, yeah, Doctor?
I can, yes.
Okay, I will just go with you now. Go ahead.
Right, so if you go to slide number 5. So off-site construction is the planning, designing, fabrication, and assembly of building elements. It's always at a location other than the final installed location. So it will be at a factory and then obviously brought to site. Off-site construction is characterized by integrated planning, supply chain optimization strategy. So the process involves a lot of planning and pre-engineering, and then obviously a lot of supply chain optimization as well. Sometimes off-site construction is referred to as prefabrication. I'm in slide 7. Or modern method of construction. It is most commonly concerned with permanent structure rather than temporary structures. In slide number 9, I think we need to move to slide number 9, Prof, if possible. So there is a number of different types of off-site construction. It could be off-site manufacture of building materials and components, or it could be off-site manufacture of elements, such as walls or floors, precast floors, or precast beams, or a steel structure. And it could be off-site manufacture of a whole unit, such as a house, school, hospital. Off-site manufacture is particularly suited to high volumes. So when we have high volumes, then off-site construction will be viable. Or when we have repetitive components as well. So we need high volumes, we need repetitive components, and at the same time, we're talking about products that require factory conditions to achieve the desired level of quality. So there is a number of factors that are important for off-site construction to succeed. It is widely considered that housing should be an obvious target for off-site construction. So in UK, there is a lot of work being done, although we're not still there, but there is a lot of work that's being done now in order to invest in off-site construction for the housing, but we're not there yet. The key challenges at the present is that the initial setup is always high, and it can be difficult to maintain a sufficiently consistent pipeline of demand to suit the assembly line and the production method. So for off-site construction, because there is a lot of initial investment, we need to ensure that there is a supply, there is available supply to justify the investment. Transport cost is another challenge. But in my opinion, the biggest challenge to off-site construction is the mentality to stick to the traditional methods. And there is a famous saying here, if it is not broken, do not fix it. So a lot of clients, a lot of engineers, a lot of contractors have been very reluctant to move into the off-site construction, because simply as I say, right, if traditional building will do it, why do we move to off-site construction? But of course, this is now being challenged by COVID-19, and we will show this later on. So part 2 is about the post-COVID-19 world. And as we said earlier, there are a number of new realities that are emerging and will emerge in the near future. And I want here specifically to highlight 3 studies. The first one is about global strategy for shaping the post-COVID-19 world. It's a study by the Atlantic Council in America. The second one is Life Post-COVID-19, and it is a study that has been sponsored by International Monetary Fund, IMF. And the third one is People and Planet. It's a study that's been sponsored by UNDP. And I just want to discuss these studies because they try to understand what are the new realities, how the world will look like post-COVID-19. I don't think we're there, but probably we're moving towards a new world with some new realities. The COVID-19 pandemic is an acute public health and economic crisis that's further destabilizing an already weakened rule-based international system. Public health crisis, Atlantic Council, they say there is a strategic shock, and that shock is very evident. We have more than 9 million people worldwide that had been infected by the virus. We have more than 470,000, almost 500,000 died because of the COVID-19. And we have also over 45,000 that had died in UK, and 295,000 people have been infected in UK. So it is a health crisis, and it is a strategic shock. And the thing is, there is no vaccine or there is no treatment that yet we know about. You know that there is a discussion about different vaccines being tried in UK today. So the crisis should be used as an opportunity to revive economic growth in the free world, particularly by investing in new technologies, investing in R&D and infrastructure, investing in artificial intelligence, investing in biotechnology, investing in advanced manufacturing, investing in quantum computing. I'm in slide 19, which is the next one. Yeah, okay, I think that one is right, yeah. So we are in a new world, or we are moving towards a new reality. It's a world completely different from the world that we're living in, or we used to live in. I'll move to the IMF and see what the intellectuals at the IMF has spoken to them. What have they said? So one of the intellectuals, he said, Daniel Susskind, he said, he questioned, what will the world look like after COVID-19? Many of the problems we face in the next decade will simply be more extreme versions of those that we already confront. James Maniaka, who's a chairman and director of McKinsey Global Institute, said, the world after COVID-19 is unlikely to return to the world that was. Many trends already underway in the global economy are being accelerated by the impact of the pandemic. This is especially true for the digital economy, with the rise of the digital behavior, such as remote working, and learning, telemedicine, and delivery services. And I think, Prof. Al-Nam, you will agree with me, if without the COVID-19 situation, we might have this conference in a different way, isn't it?
Yes.
Gian Saldina is a director of European Network. Again, she's saying, or she's quoting an Indian author. He's saying, historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal. It is a gateway between one world and the next. These are all very, very strong statements. And it is a translation of the reality that we're living, the reality that we're moving into a new world. I will jump to the UNDP and the conclusion of their study. They said COVID-19 has unleashed an unprecedented human development crisis. However, in the endeavor of confronting its multiple implications, there is also an opportunity to reimagine what is possible and desirable for the future. And they are enforcing the statement that policies are currently being designed to face the crisis, and a massive additional financial resources are being mobilized. A key question is how to make this crisis an opportunity for positive change. So if we try to understand all of this together, it's directing us towards something new, that we are moving into a new world. So the new post-pandemic realities are emerging. New technologies, R&D, digital transformation, new needs are part of the new realities. We are also talking about new set of human behaviors and new ways being developed for dealing with today's challenges. There is a focus now in safe investments. So we need to underline these safe investments. So anything which is labor intensive cannot be considered safe investment anymore. So there is a focus in safe investments, controlled and automated processes to reduce human factor risks. So all of these key lessons that we're learning from post-COVID-19 world is telling us that the on-site construction, the traditional construction is coming into question. It cannot be the answer for the future. So we're now seeing a world that's building reserved capacities and investing in research and R&D as part of the strong trend. Off-site construction look ahead. So the key points are traditional versus modern off-site construction, new demand, new opportunities, new ways of doing business, reducing risk, expecting the unexpected, and we will also talk about the key challenges. Traditional versus modern off-site construction. Traditional construction has been greatly affected by the development of lockdown and social distancing measures. Off-site construction has been less impacted by these measures and far able to adapt to the new realities. And we've already discussed that we're talking about a new world, about new realities, which all promotes off-site construction. New demand, new opportunities. So there is new demands for hospitals, for labs, research facilities, And we have two good examples here. We have the NHS Nightingale Hospital in London, and we have the Hoshin Shah Hospital in China. Nightingale Hospital, the plans to create Nightingale Hospital were announced on 24th of March. The facility was formally opened on the 3rd of April in less than 10 days by Prince of Wales via video conference or via video link. Again, this is a very interesting situation here, because traditionally the hospital has been open in a great big gathering, but now we're talking about opening one of the biggest achievements in UK, perhaps in 2020, via video link. The hospital current capacity is 500 patients, but it could be expanded to take 4,000 patients. The hospital was designed with capacity to receive and discharge up to 150 patients per day. The number of staff, when the hospital reaches full capacity, will be around 16 to 25,000. In slide 33, there is just a number of pictures showing the hospital during construction. But I don't think anyone will mistake the role that manufacturing has played in completing this project. Again, Hoshin Shan Hospital, we're talking about 25,000 square meter, 1,000 beds, and it is predominantly prefabricated buildings. I have prepared the video, but unfortunately will not be able to share it, but the video is available on the internet. So anyone can log into the internet. It's in slide 35, and you can see the video. It's an amazing video.
We will incorporate it, Director, inshallah.
Yes, and it tells you the story. And again, the story is about off-site manufacturing. So what does this tell us? It tells us that we have huge capabilities within the off-site construction. If it is mobilized correctly, it can change the world, and it can respond to the demands of tomorrow and today, of course. Again, we're talking about new ways of doing business. And this is not only true for construction, it's true for other industries as well. The old ways of doing business is not relevant anymore. There is a lot of research in UK and in other countries to find new ways of doing business. And one of the great guidelines for this is to achieve quality, is to meet cost and to meet time. And it all benefits from automation, enhanced opportunity for mass production. And this is where the power of off-site manufacturing is. Again, we're talking about reducing risk and expecting the unexpected. We have to reduce health and safety risk. We have to reduce exposure to extreme natural conditions. And we have to find ways to improve working in a controlled conditions. And all of this, again, is supporting the case for off-site manufacturing. We're talking about new standards of doing business. We're talking about new standards for cleaning, for health and safety. We're talking about swift response required. Nightingale is a good example. The hospital in China is another example. And we're talking about response to digital world, to flexibility, to adaptability requirements. So the key challenges facing off-site construction remains to be addressed. I think we all agree that there is a potential in offsite construction to provide the answer for today and tomorrow questions. But it does require a joint effort. It's not only something that the contractors or the construction industry will have to take along, but it does require an input from everyone. And I think there is a great role here for the governments, for the private sectors, for the clients to understand and to invest into offsite manufacturing. I think to this end, I will come to the end of this presentation, Prof. Alam.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Amir. That's very interesting, very useful presentation. It's now open for question. If you have any questions, open it. It's three very good presentations. Role of women, empowering of women, how women can have a voice. Very good exploration of the experience of Muna. She explained that very well. Then Councillor Sunny gave a very comprehensive talk, really. Oh yes, we have a questions from Monica Ehring. I think Monica is in California, I think. Okay, question. Are you including digital fabrication in your discussion of construction in the future? Are you including digital fabrication in your discussion of construction in the future? And she gave a website, Fab Foundation. There are a number of fab labs in Africa. In China, digital fabrication is being used to make buildings. One of the big issues in Africa is manufacturing capacity when it comes to mass production. Kenyan innovators have to send their digital files to China to have them mass produced. I'm sorry, I have to sign off now, Monica. So this is very good. This is from Monica. She gave a very wonderful presentation yesterday. Now, who want to kick on this? Sunny or Dr. Amir or possibly Muna if you want. Amir, did you read? Okay, Sonny can go first. Go, Sonny. Can you unmute yourself, Sonny? Yes, Sonny, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. In fact, I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Amin. Yeah, you know, I really enjoy his presentation. It's an eye opener. And the question I really want to ask him is, which is also linked to the question Monica asked before she left the group. How do you think, you know, considering, you know, Africa is still at the development stage of the of development cycle, we see at the early stages. How do you think Africa can capitalize on digital, you know, manufacturing? I know in marketing, for instance, we have, I mean, there are so many examples of, you know, digital manufacturing. Well, I mean, it's a concept what we use. As probably, I'm sure Professor Alam will probably testify to this, even though we use that in printing, in all kinds of marketing, but at the same time, in manufacturing, how do you think Africa can capitalize of it, especially COVID-19 having opened our eyes to many possibilities that we never thought of before, without leaving our shores, without having to travel thousands of miles? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Amir, or
Yes.
and then we go to Mona. Yes, Amir.
Yes, I would like to comment on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think one of the things that has been delaying the offsite construction from taking its full potential, actually, the initial cost and the initial investment that is required. Generally, Africa, and I think Sudan is an example as well. I have seen how quick we're able to learn the lesson. So even so, the journey in Europe, in UK, has been very long until we reach to this point now, where offsite manufacturing is, even now in UK, is still, I would say there is still a lot of work to be done. But I can see that Africa and Sudan as an example, that we're not much behind. And I think we're quick to learn the lesson that offsite construction provide a lot of answers to a lot of questions. I think it reminds me about what has happened in the world like 20 years ago, when people started to say that, oh, when we start using computer, we will not need human being. I don't think this proved to be an incorrect statement. So similarly, I don't think offsite manufacturing is about not needing manpower or not needing human beings, but it's about how best to come with an answer to a specific problem. So I think Africa, I'm confident that Africa and the African countries will catch up, and I can see that we will be able to realize the benefits of offsite manufacture in terms of scale, in terms of providing the quality, in terms of even the cost, the benefit in terms of cost. Of course, this is not something will be realized very quickly, but down the line, we will see the benefits in terms of reduction of cost as well.
Right, tamam. Muna, do you want to comment on this? Or shall I give you the question we received for you? You are muted, Muna. Yes, Muna. We can't hear you, Muna. Now we can hear you, yes?
Yeah, كنت مستعملة بلوتوث وخلص.
Go ahead, no problem.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amir. Very interesting presentations. Raised so many questions, but I think we're going to leave it for the future, especially about Africa, because people today is struggling from the power cut, the electricity and the computer and all the obstacles for what people aim for Africa. And I'm not quite sure even how much people in Africa managed to prevent their nations from COVID-19, because there is no, I cannot rely on a specific accurate data came out from Africa, but hopefully what I've seen in your presentation, you and your other engineers managing do something for Africa, because we aiming for, because we disappointed from the Western countries, even America and here in UK, there is so many gaps when it comes to the NHS and when they came to prevent their citizens from COVID-19, because there are so gaps in so many areas, especially the health sectors. But Africa, I'm not quite sure. Again, I'm not quite sure how they're gonna tackle all that. But hopefully, in coming future, we're gonna see something different.
Okay, Mona, thank you very much. And I think what I can suggest, Dr. Amir, with your permission, I don't know when, but when you come back to the UK, I would assume it's not going to be very long. We will discuss this maybe, and we also engage with Sunny and all the African groups. And we can create one where you can make the presentation, all of us, we can even invite people, because it's quite a very interesting topic, because it's safe time and it's rebuilt. And maybe we can give recommendation to OCDs or to donors countries if they want to help rebuilding, because we've got many thousands, not just in Sudan, and across Africa, now in camps. If we can build something just to shelter them, I definitely will be.
Very good one, yeah.
I think let's do one in the UK once you're back, Amir. Muna, one question came here, and I will let you start answering, and then I will close by Amir and Sunny. This is Echo, the Prime Minister of what is it, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Many people said she's. I don't want to use a word which she didn't use, but more or less the commentators are saying she's without the big support she received from her partner, she would never have become a prime minister. Yeah, what she meant by that, he is a very supportive partner, not just in helping her domestically, but in helping her even sitting down beside the table like this, drafting the letters, campaigning. So he's a true partner, not just at home, but at her work. So imagine as a politician, and I mean, I'm sure Sunny will echo that, you need someone to trust all the time and so on. To what extent you agree that for a woman to lead, whatever lead means, manager, CEOs, minister, she need a very much, not only understanding partner, but supportive. And supportive is mean fully supportive. Work, talking to her, and so on and so on. And how can we change the mentality of men to understand this word of full support, not just, oh, helping her or look after the kid or food. That's not really, I don't think that's the job. That's something just, it's just helping. My kids, they love their mom's food better than me. That's something, nothing to do with what is kind of whose job. So what do you think? Can you comment on this? Because we're really looking forward to change as much as we can the ethos so that women can actually be enabled, not giving them training, no, enabled by giving them the time, the support, and then they can lead. Yeah, you can start this one.
I can start from a message I received from Monica. I can read it here, and she called me Iman. I think she meant Muna.
Okay.
And what she mentioned is that she's so glad that I emphasize the importance of partnership between women and men. I believe in the community or the society or the nation itself. We divide it into women and men. And the support that she talks about is very important, Dr. Alam or Professor Alam, because I think through the awareness and education, and I emphasize on education that the whole society believes in women's roles, and they believe that women can go out and can fully participate, and deliver what the message or what the job that applied for her by getting support from the community itself. And I can give you an example to explain this. In Sudan, okay, in Sudan, we believe Kandaka or women, they were part of the revolution recently. Okay, but when there is some certain kind of jobs appeared lately, we noticed they missed women from many positions that the government or the new government given to men. And that means, and even if you follow up the Facebook, and when women express their concern, there is no roles for them, or there is no positions for them, or there is no attendance for them from the government, and you can see the abusive response from men who believe in women, or men that they think they believe in women roles in the society. When I talk about education, I think we need to include that at schools from the beginning, to teach our young generation or young kids about the roles of the woman. A woman can be a mom, she can be a sister, she can be a teacher, she can be a prime minister. And even in Sudan, after a huge loss of lives, and when some people call for Dr. Fadwa to become a prime minister, and the amount of disagreement from men's side demanding that they were not capable to hold this kind of position. And also ministers, ambassadors. Just 2 days ago, I've seen like 12 new ambassadors for different over the world, and not a single seat for a woman. And just negotiation, Sudan in different wars, and up to now we haven't seen a negotiator, a woman. Okay, that come to my attention when I call for support, when I call for, we need to hear a women's voice. What we need really to apply that from the child, I think from kindergartens, so that the kids learn about how important his mom and his sister to take part in the society, to build the society. We're talking about capacity building. I think we need to educate our men, our kids' men, to understand the role of the women. And if we go back in a religion side, Prophet Muhammad's first time, he ran to his wife, who was older than him, I think by a couple of, a decade, 10 years or more, but he supported her. And when he felt that he's gonna pass away, Okay, he excused his wives to be with the youngest, the last one of the loved one, Aisha, to be with her. And we studied that, but we don't believe in it. I mean, when I say believe in it about our men, they don't believe in it. They can give it as example. If the man in my community or my society believes that he has right to marry 4 women, and I think I deserve from him a support. For me, when I would like to go to campaign, to present, to participate, what we're looking for a real values for our women to take part in our society. So I do agree what she said. I do, and even here in the UK, when I stood as a candidate, okay, I've got a support from my party because I'm caring for my parents. So to give me a time off from caring, they supported me with whatever I asked because that in their policies.
Yes.
I'm talking about lack of policies in our certain communities. And even here in the UK, domestic violence among women, all the women being hit through their husbands. Some of them, they've been hit because when she asked, she want to go to college. And believe me, I have a woman now nearly to lose her 3 kids, okay? Because the husband, as soon as she asked to go out to study, that time the problem started because he felt threat, he's scared that as soon as she gets out from the house, he's gonna lose her. So what we need to build the trust, to build a value of the woman as a woman, not just a wife.
And I think just to tell you, women, this morning, this insult you said, we have seen it in our Facebook this morning. Someone commented, and then there's you can see it in our WAS, I think WAS or Sudan knowledge, I'm not sure. He said, if men fail, how come you expect women to succeed? Imagine. So I will move to Sonny. Sonny, I think you can also, thank you very much, Mona. That's very articulated answer. And I think just to echo you, Mona, the New Zealand is a country which is being flagged as #1 in terms of combating coronavirus. So if it comes to leadership, we have a woman now who led the best country now. Now, Sonny, you are a politician, you are a policymaker, you are a community change, you are a transformation leader. You have many, many of these titles. Now, I will ask you the question in a different way. Now, let's assume your Labour Party is in government. Let me ask you the question from a different side. What would you like to see from the next Labour Party Prime Minister in exactly what Mona said? Give me on the ground, what do you want him to do?
Okay. Number one, if we take equality seriously, then the contribution of everyone, whether man or woman, a disabled person, or whether we come from religious background or none, or young or old, the contribution of everyone should be allowed to flourish. And when you deny a woman or a child the opportunity to contribute, we are losing, we are missing. And I said that, earlier during my presentation. So coming back to the question you asked, I remember because I wanted to have a woman leader. In the past 2 leadership elections, the one that brought Jeremy Corbyn in, I voted for a woman leader. Of course, she didn't win. And the second recent one, the more recent one, I voted for a woman leader as well. Not because for tokenism or anything. I just believe we have capable women out there that we'll be supporting. However, you can quote me, you may not quote me on this. I do not believe, because in my party, for instance, they believe this position needs to be reserved for man, this position needs to be reserved for women. I don't believe in that. And I'll tell you why. I don't believe in that because I believe, if you remember what I said before, women don't need empowerment. We just need to give them space to flourish. They're already empowered. So therefore, when you say reserve this position for women, even for a Black person, as we do in this country, all right, this for Black, this for Asian, this for this. It's total rubbish, my opinion, to be honest with you. You know what? We are failing. That's why we haven't doing that. If we are in a very open society where whether you're Muslim or Christian, man or woman, young or old, the qualities you have, you bring it on the table can be recognized and utilized to flourish. We won't need to do all that. It's because we failed as human beings That's why we notice, oh, we don't have enough women there. Oh, we don't have enough men there. Imagine if in the room, out of 10 people we want, 7 of them are women. Why not be majority? All of them women. But also, conversely, if it's majority of them are men, why do you have to say simply because? It's because majority of them are men. Therefore, let's go and find a woman that is not ready or a young person that is not ready to plug that hole. However, the problem with us is why we can't find a woman that is ready for that position? Because we are failing, because we didn't consciously prepare them for leadership, because we excluded them for a long time. Just the same principle applies to our young people as well, or disabled people, because we don't recognize them as integral part and parcel of the society. Because it is where stakeholder I was talking about coming. If we are planning anything, whether in terms of leadership, in terms of government, and we consciously think about women, think about men, think about young people, think about disabled people, our road will be fit for purpose. Disabled people who are on wheelchair, they won't need to cross on the main road before they can go, because we already consciously planning they can use their wheelchair on it. The same thing with women. If we consciously plan that a woman has a role in government, in the department, on committee.
Yes, absolutely. And
then we will encourage them to come in. So that's where I stand, Professor.
Thank you very, very much, Sunny. I will give you, Amir, the last word, particularly if you would like to comment on the engineering side. One sector in particular, Amir, women in science and technology is definitely one of the cases of equality. It's being raised by the UN. But most importantly in higher education is engineering. We have very little in engineering. So what can you say here, Amir? But in a very short comment, because we really have to finish this session. I know it's entertaining, but we will carry on this discussion when you come back. And we will definitely do lots of things on women leadership. But Amir, engineering in particular, if you don't mind talking about this specifically, is being one of the area clearly being marked as there is no equality at all. Men are very dominant. I know the nature of the job, but women can be engineer, can be architect, can be anything. What do you say?
Yes, you know, Prof. Alam, I have had an experience working with amazing engineers, amazing women, very, very excellent in terms of achievement, in terms of capabilities, in terms of their understanding and leadership and everything. So I do agree with what Mona has said earlier and what Sunny has said as well, is about giving them the opportunity more than anything. I think women have proven themselves as leaders, as engineers, as scientists, as economists, as project managers, and even in construction. So it's just a matter of opening the doors and giving them the opportunities. And I think they will have a very, very positive impact, and they will change a lot. And we will see things that men couldn't do.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that conclusion, Amir. Muna, Councillor Sonny, and Dr. Amir, thank you very much. It has been a wonderful session, and I am very glad it's all been recorded in the Facebook. There's lots of comments, but we will definitely get the video out quickly. Thank you very much. I think we have to conclude this session. And if you can all join me all over, I can see lots of faces from different places. Thanking these people, really, all of them have done a wonderful job. And I know they're all working, everyone is struggling. And I can see Dr. Shadi, every time I can see they're opening the camera to show that she's clapping. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Some people, they open the camera just to show you they are clapping for you. So thank you very much. We have to stop here because we have the final session. It should be at 6 o'clock. We want to discuss whether we'll do it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all of you. Thank you, Amir. I know he's struggling in Sudan. Thank you.
So please remember, if we all help and do a little bit, it will make a big difference.